You are listening to Jambo Radio across Scotland. This is Jambo Radio News.
Latest news across Scotland. This is Jambo Radio. A Renfrewshire councillor has blasted the culprits who vandalised the remembrance bench in Renfrew. The bench, which sits beside the town's war memorial, was reported to be damaged by Renfrew Rotary. The non-profit organisation said it was sad and angry to report of the vandalism, and Labour councillor Jamie Maguire said the honour, bravery and selflessness of our servicemen and women and those who deface it are shown deep disrespect to those who fought for the country. 10 city council wards with the highest levels of child poverty will be the focus on action to help the poorest families in Glasgow. Work will take place with parents who have a child aged 5 or under to try and prevent them from sinking into further financial problems. A project called Glasgow's Child Poverty Pathfinder has already started in the Southside, Central, Carlton and Govan. Life expectancy in Scotland has increased slightly for both males and females according to new figures from National Records of Scotland. The life expectancy for 2021 to 2023 was 80.9 years for females and 76.9 years for males compared to the estimate for 2020 to 2022, which is an increase of about 14 weeks for males and 7 weeks for females. These figures are still down on where they were prior to the COVID pandemic, and Scotland continues to have a lower life expectancy than England and Wales. 3 different marches have taken place in London, with thousands of people joining, which focused on the UK's summer riots and the deaths of people in police custody. An annual event by United Families and Friends campaign took place in Trafalgar Square, remembering those who have died in police custody, and was attended by hundreds, including the family of Chris Cabba. Demonstrations took part between Victoria Station and Whitehall, organised on behalf of Tommy Robinson, which aimed to support those jailed over the UK riots. A counter-protest also took place. And now for African news. A court in Uganda has sentenced Lord's Resistance Army commander Thomas Kwoyeli to 40 years in prison after a landmark war crimes trial due to his role in the group's 2-decade reign of violence. The sentence was announced on Friday the 25th of October by Michael Ilubu, the lead judge. Justice Duncan Gasagwa, one of the 4 judges, said the convict played a prominent role in the planning, safety and actual execution of the offences of extreme gravity. And that's the latest from Jambo Newsroom. I'm Andrew Baini.
Need security? Call Alpha One Plus Limited, a strategic security resourcing platform that connects you with licensed security personnel. We cater for our clients' security needs, from manned guarding, door supervision, event security, all the way up to close personal protection. Alpha One Plus Limited, your one-stop security solution. Call now at 44-074 2526 7909 or send us an email on info@alphaoneplus.com.
Across the World Wide Web, on your mobile devices, on social media platforms, this is Jambo Radio! www.jamboradio.co.uk. We are multilingual. We are conversational in the languages you best understand. We are Jambo Radio! Jambo Radio, inspiring transformation.
Hi everyone, and this is Jambo Radio's Black History Month special, and I'm your host, CJ Adebayo Mwaka. If you would like to listen live, you can do so at Jambo Radio Scotland on Facebook. You can also follow us at Jambo Radio 1 on Twitter, jamboradio.scotland on IG. You can email us at info@jamboradio.co.uk. To call in, it's 01415302787, and our WhatsApp is 0745990682. And with that, I'm going to move it on to our very lovely guest. Would you like to introduce yourself, Enoch?
My name is Enoch Adeyemi, and I like to describe myself first as human and a whole list of other things.
Is that it? do you not want to say what you do? Do you not want to say? Okay.
So that's who I am, and what I do. I mean, by profession, I'm a chartered accountant, and I work within financial services. Been working there for about 2 decades now. But then beyond that, I'm also the founder of a few organizations here in Scotland and across the world, majorly to support black folks around, starting their career, progressing their career, starting businesses, and so I'm just having that upward social mobility. And I've got, I love enterprise as well, so I've got a few businesses that keep me busy as well. So those are a few things about me.
Great. Okay. So before we get into it, I already warned you about this, but I'm going to ask you a silly question to break the ice.
There's no such thing as a silly question. So
No,
go for it.
I like that. What's your favorite pasta shape?
I'm Nigerian. I eat rice. So I'm trying to think. Pasta. I'll go spaghetti.
Okay, spaghetti. So
Spaghetti, yeah.
generic, easy.
Yep.
Not coglietti
Yeah.
risotto.
Not interesting. Sorry, I don't even know what you're saying. I don't know those things.
Wow.
I need to get out more.
Okay, so let's get into this the business. Before we talk about all of your enterprises and everything, I really want to take it back to when you were younger. So I've got a few questions about that. So first of all, is the path that you've taken, obviously you're a chartered accountant, you've got all these enterprises. Was this always what you wanted to do? Like, was this from a very young age, you're like, I'm going to be an accountant, I'm going to be a business owner, I'm going to do this?
Yes and no. So from a very young age, since I was a teenager, I've always wanted to be an accountant. So you need to set this in context, right? I was growing up in Nigeria as a teenager. So very different to how people grow up here in the UK, where at teenage years, you're still thinking, I don't know what I want to do. I think over there, you get to quickly decide what you want to do because it's very much driven by what the outcome of whatever it is you want to do will be, because you've got to think from a monetary or commercial perspective, right? So when I was in school, I was good at mathematics, of bookkeeping, economics, so those type of things. So from that point on, I was already thinking, what could I do with these things I'm good at? And I like the bookkeeping side of it. I could see a career in there. You could become an accountant. It's pretty straightforward in my head. And so since then, I've sort of known, I think so that must have been from the age of 12-ish, 13. So when I was in what they call junior secondary school, I've known I wanted to become an accountant. So finished secondary school and just did my A-levels and went straight to study accounting. The other things, sort of business owner and all those things just happened. They just happened. So I've never, when I was growing up, I never thought, I would like to own a business or I would like to own an organization. No, my only goal was I want to be an accountant because for me that gave me financial security and not to be super rich, but comfort. So that was the only goal then growing up. But then grew up, became an accountant, and everything that's happened in my life has then brought me to where I am today, where all those other things.
Very insightful. I want to take a little bit when you said, teenagers in this country, like there's more like leeway to be like, I don't know what I want to do. And I think I would agree and disagree on that, because in terms of how the education system is in this country, where you're having to do your Nat 5s and then your hires, then your advanced hires, and it's like these certain universities for these certain courses want these hires, want these advanced hires. So I would say you still do need to make a choice quite early on as to what you want to do. But I think that it's a very interesting thing where there's still possibility because of the amount of subjects that you can take. Because I know, like personally for me, I was like, I want to be pre-med. And then I was like, I want to do computing science. So I did all of the sciences, but I also had the opportunity to do music and drama and art. So because I had already done those things, when it was time for me to pivot, I could pivot. But I would still say that, there's so many other subjects that I didn't take, and those paths are fully cut out for me, and I had to make that choice at like 13 and 14. I would say that maybe the stakes were higher in Nigeria. I will give you that.
It's you know what, this is why conversations are good, right? So this conversation has now made me realize, so maybe there's something here I don't know. All right, I don't know someone who has gone through that process yet. My kids are still very young. So when you're talking, I was thinking, I will understand this much more better when they get to that point. And then again, maybe what made it easier for us to quickly lock in was the way our education system was structured. So the first 3 years, what they call junior secondary school, everyone is doing the same thing, right? Then the last 3 years of secondary school or high school. So basically, once you finish those first 3 years, you then get to decide if you're going into, so they then break the last 3 years into science, commercial, and arts. So what are you currently studying, if I may ask?
So I guess it was similar where the first 2 years everyone's doing the same subjects. However, in the last bit of second year is when you start to
specialize
pick subjects.
Yep.
And there are still mandatory subjects you have
Yep.
to take. So you have to take math, you have to take English,
Yep.
but you had more leeway to take other things.
Yep.
I guess with my path, I took drama and I took music.
Yep.
But in the back of my head, I was like, I'm Nigerian. My mom's gonna want me to do this. So let me take physics. Let me take math.
Let's mix it up.
Let me take physics. Let me take math. But still keep the
Yeah.
English, the drama, the music.
Yeah.
But I'll take physics.
And
I'll take
it's
math.
good though. It's good you guys get all that flexibility.
chemistry,
Yeah, because so that subject you just listed, it's not possible in the
That's what I'm
Nigerian
saying.
system.
I'm like
Yeah.
agreeing and disagreeing with
Yeah.
you because you definitely probably did have to lock in way more.
Because you've got no choice.
There's no choice.
But
There
you guys
is
have
no-
got choices.
But there is still leeway for me. And even if at the end of high school I was like, oh, I don't like these choices, there was still the opportunity for me to go to college,
Yep.
to then do the
And
thing, to
then-
then go to university. So I would say that there's way more.
You guys
leeway
have
in
it
that.
all.
No, because education is free here, you still need to work really hard
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there's only a certain amount of spaces in
Yeah.
different places.
I mean, I say that as a joke and with a
Yeah.
bit of seriousnness as well, because you have all these ways to get to where you want to get to. In Nigeria, you don't have all these ways. You have one way, you know. I mean, if to get to those, say for example, you want to be an accountant, right? In this country, there are probably 10 ways to become an accountant. In Nigeria, there's one way: go to uni. If you don't get to uni, you're not becoming an accountant. Here you can decide, I'll just go to apprenticeship and then I'll do graduate apprenticeship. And so in Nigeria, it's not possible. You need to go to uni. So that's why I guess for us, it's limiting. But at the same time, I guess it does help you make decisions quicker because I'm an adult now and I speak to a lot of adults. And a lot of them have said things like, it would have been easier for them if things were more locked in earlier so that they could have just locked in and focused instead of dilly-dallying and then at the age of 40-something thinking, you know what, this is not really what I want. This is actually anyway, you get the gist.
Yeah.
But options are good.
I would say, so with the mindset of, like the Nigerian schooling system, would you say that when those parents like you who came from that schooling system then come over to this country and raise children, there's that kind of like barrier? Because like it's one thing for your child to be like, oh, I want to do this and then I want to do this, but you're coming from the mindset of no, you have to pick.
No, so I'll tell you where I am with education, right? Education has helped me. I've got a degree, I've got a master's, and some of it has helped me, some not so much. And I've had this conversation with my wife, and my view with education for our kids is I don't care too much. All right.
Okay.
As long as you're good at something, you need to be good at something. All right. So in my case, I was good at accounting. I was good at mathematics. So then I went down the education route and I became an accountant, and it's worked out for me. But if at an early age, as a child, we see that, let's say, for example, we see you're good in front of camera. Like anytime I want to do maybe just funny family videos, just crush it. Straight away, we're thinking, okay, maybe there's something for this boy that doesn't have to do with going to study medicine or law or whatever. So that's the view I'm taking, which is maybe not popular among the African diaspora. Again, because I've studied, I've worked at a lot of all these big corporates, and I've met a lot of people there and found a lot of them have not used the education to get to where they are. So I'm not going to push my kids into, oh yeah, you must get a degree or you must study medicine or you must do this or whatever. No, I mean, I'll guide them as much as I want, but the most important thing is, what are you good at? Laser in on that. So for example, my son is very athletic. So, as I said, I was just telling your colleague, he's at football tonight. So if there's something there, we'll run with it. If there's nothing there, we'll find something where there's something there, and then we'll support him as much as we can.
I think that's a very healthy mindset to have.
Hey, listen, it's easier. I like to sleep peacefully at night.
It also is easier. It's
Yeah.
funny how sometimes a healthier option is just the easiest, the less stressful to worry about, and things like that. I think that's a very great mindset to have. Okay, so parking that, because we can come back to it. So obviously you schooled in Nigeria, you were an accountant. So how was your journey coming from Nigeria to the UK and Scotland specifically?
Absolutely.
Like, how is that? How did you go about doing that? How was that transition feeling?
Sure. So I finished my high school equivalent in Nigeria, and
did your jam?
I did my jam, and I don't think I've said this publicly before. I actually failed jam, and it's funny. I was away with friends this weekend, and I was telling my friend, I'm glad I failed jam because that brought me to where I am today. So the plan was I was going to pass jam, then go to Ogun State University, study accounting, and then probably join financial services in Nigeria, maybe bank or wherever, and then sort of work hard and work my way up type thing. That was the plan in my head. And then the cutoff mark was 200 and I got 197. And I remember when I got the results, I was shattered because I was one of the clever guys, right? So I was supposed to pass jam and I didn't. And sometimes, and that's why even with our kids, when things happen, because of what has happened to me, my life story and how things have shaped itself over the last 4 decades or whatever, I just think maybe it was meant to be. So, and some people may think it's too lax an attitude, but because of what has happened in my life, when things happen, I'm like, maybe it was meant to be. Like I tried my best, I studied hard, and I'm quite a studious guy. I'm like, I studied and I still failed jam by 3 marks. So anyway, because of that, it was then the case, what are we gonna do? Because now there's no options for university, and unfortunately for us, we didn't have the college. I know there's other options. So then there was the option to go to an A-level college, right? So, but an A-level college in Nigeria is quite tough. So you guys do your hires in 2 years.
So you have the opportunity to do your hires in 2 years, or you could do hires and then advanced hires mixed with your hires, which is what I did. So I did my Nat 5s, then I did hires, and then my last year I did more hires, but I also did, I think, 2 or 3 advanced hires. Okay. Just to like secure my spot
just
for you.
secure a spot for uni. So something like that. But I think I'll just keep it simple and relate it to what it really relates to. So in England, they do A-levels in 2 years. But then because it was so expensive in Nigeria, the Nigerian system were able to crush that 2-year program into a 9-month program. So it was hardcore. So that was what I went to do. I went to do my A-levels. And the plan was finish my A-levels, and the Nigerian university system was such that if you pass A-levels, you can then come into a Nigerian university second year. So it's almost like an equivalent of first year. So the plan was finish that and get into what is classed, or what was classed then as the best university in Nigeria, University of Lagos. That was the plan. And then while I was doing my A-levels, things happened.
What things?
Things happened. So there was no plans to come to the UK. I mean, my parents couldn't afford it. We were not that rich. We were not there. But the British Council people came to our college then, and they started putting these ideas in our head, like, oh, if you pass your A-levels, you can go to University of this. And I was thinking, that would be cool to actually go overseas, to go abroad. I mean, at this point, I'd never been on a plane. I don't know anything about that life. I was a proper local boy. But then they planted this seed around, maybe I can travel as well. I'm academically good, so maybe if I travel, I can actually do something for myself. So that was when the whole desire to come do my degree in the UK sort of started from. And I begged my parents, I pleaded with them. My dad or my mom was telling me the story recently. I've forgotten that there was a night I actually came into their room, knelt down, started crying and begging them that please invest in me. If you invest in me, I will not disappoint you, because I knew they didn't have the money. So this was me begging them to just do anything you want, just make sure I go. And I think my pleading and my desire worked, and I got a place at the University of Liverpool. I got the right grades.
To cut in. Are you an only child, or?
No, there were 6 of us.
Wow, so it really was a big
It was a big investment.
Right.
It was a big investment, and hopefully we'll get to that point in the story. But it's all worked out now. Yeah. All right. So I came back in 2003. As I came as a teenager, I came by myself. I came without any network or any uncles or aunties. So that was me straight from Lagos to boom, Liverpool. And that was how my life in the UK started.
Wow. So what was the adjustment period like? Because obviously it's just so
It wasn't, different. There wasn't that much of an adjustment period. So, when I got off from landed at Heathrow, took a train from Heathrow to Liverpool Lime Street Station, got off, and I remember the taxi that took me from the train station, taking me to the to the student accommodation. Do they still call them halls?
Yeah, they do.
Halls,
they
yeah.
do.
Taking me to the halls. This guy was speaking for what must have been 20 minutes. I didn't understand anything he was saying. I was just nodding and smiling. I mean, so I was coming from Lagos, and this guy had a very strong Scouse Liverpool accent, right? But then within few weeks, I realized that I wasn't thinking about what they were saying anymore. My brain has clicked in, processed it, and I was fortunate as well that because I came from a Christian home, right? So when I got to Liverpool, the first thing was I need to find a church. Right. So straight away, I found community. I found a church. There's a church in Nigeria that I was going to then called the Redeemed Christian Church of God. So the plan was find the Redeemed Christian Church of God. I met a girl on my course. She said she knows someone that goes there, and then connected me. And straight once I was there, community was there. So loneliness was reduced, was dropped off very quickly. And then at the university as well, there were, I won't say massive, but there was a good amount of Nigerian students like me, international students just arriving. So very quickly we found ourselves, formed that community. And I got involved in the African Caribbean Society as well. I was a treasurer there as well. I'm an accountant, right? So I aligned myself into what I can do. So it didn't take me that long to adjust. And again, because I was young, I was amiable. It was easy for me to quickly change form and sort of flex where I am. So that was the adjustment for me. I should mention though that maybe a bit of a funny story. When I was coming, the degree I picked was accounting and computer science. So because when those prospectors, I don't know if they still send them, those thick ones, or is it online now?
No, they still
send them.
I still have some in my room.
Perfect. So they sent it.
Books that have all
all the nice pictures and everything. Well, it was nice pictures for me being in Nigeria and seeing all these nice, beautiful places. I'm like, wow, so this is where I'm going to study. Anyway, so there was the option to study accounting, and then there was the option, then there were other stuff like accounting and computer science. And I was like, that would be so cool to study accounting and computer science, because again, as I said, very humble background. The school I went to, there was no computer, so I wasn't close to computer. So I was thinking this could be an opportunity for me to actually learn how to use the computer. And then in the prospectus, they said you don't need any computer science knowledge, right?
They lied to you.
So like, come as you are, right? And I'm not kidding you. Day one of the computer science course, the guy gave us a coding assignment. Like, go and code, write a program. And so that was me. The first semester was tough for me, but thankfully for me, so I think the first semester my modules were mathematics, maybe accounting, maybe economics, and then computer science. The three, I wasn't studying them because I had enough knowledge from A levels to get me through, and because that was already my world. I spent, no jokes, I spent 95% of my time on the computer science just to pass. And thankfully I passed. And once I passed that first semester, I went back to the administration block and I was like, can I change my degree to accounting?
Yeah, because it must have been so stressful. Because I know with the international students, like the rule, like you can't fail. Like they will just deport you.
You cannot.
Just deport you.
And that was when I realized my brain is, and that was when I started appreciating different brains. Because there was a girl in my class, she ended up becoming my friend. She was the one that helped me through that first semester. Whenever they give us assignments, I'm like, right, let's go to I think they used to call it computer lab. Yeah. They still have them?
Yeah,
we'll go to the computer lab, I'll sit next to her, I'm like, right, okay, what are you writing? But then whenever it came to accounting, economics, and mathematics, I mean, that same year, I got, I think, 92% in my mathematics. So that was when I realized we all have different brains. Like, I'm very good at that in that world, but if you give me things like coding or biology or chemistry, I'll fail miserably. Like, my brain just can't process it. And I think there's something there for parents to understand that, find what your kids are good at. And then, again, just as with the way I've viewed life anyway, and then push them and support them in that way. Because if they're good at something, then, let them go be the best at that thing in that world. So, yeah, that was how I got into Liverpool and adjusted over the next few weeks and months.
I think the fun thing about, like, letting kids, flourish in what they're good at is most of the time kids know what they're good at. And it's not, I don't mean, like, they know as in, oh, I want to be this, but, like, maybe it's subconsciously, or maybe it's, like, they have, like, this calling towards it. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the way you talk about it, it seems like you're saying that, as parents, your job is to recognize that and really just, like, invest and pour
and
attention
and
into
guide,
that.
And mold. So, for example, if a child says, I'll give you an example. If a child says, I want to be a builder, you can say, how about to become an architect? Or you become, so you can, is that molding and that guiding? Because you, as a parent, at the same time, you're thinking, I want my kids to end well. Because if they don't end well, it will impact them in life, their kids, and potentially you, because you may have to step in. So as much as you want to give them free rein, like, yeah, be whatever you want to be, at the same time, you've got to be like, we live in a society now where the social state is reducing. So people are now beginning more and more to rely on themselves financially. So you need to, again, from that place of guidance, you need to guide them in such a way that you do what you're good at, but at the same time, let's make sure you can earn in that space. How do we commercialize that space? How do we monetize it? You know, sorry, I'm an accountant, so I'm always thinking from that point of view, like, how do we make something out of this? Because if we can't, then you may love it all you want. If it's not going to earn money for you or your family, what's the point?
Fair enough. I mean, I think that's a great segue to talking about your businesses. I feel like that is.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Lock in.
Okay. So looking through, should I talk about the biggest ones? Black Professionals Scotland, and then Black Professionals Europe. No.
Yeah, sure.
So how did that come about?
We
can talk about Scotland, and then we can talk about how you moved into doing it in Europe.
Absolutely. So as I said, the only thing I've been conscious about doing is my accounting career, my accounting studies and accounting career. That was intentional. So when I finished from the University of Liverpool, I was trying to get my career started, put out lots of applications, and then, so I was coming from Nigeria, right? And I had a privilege over other black people that were born here. And that privilege is, for me, impossible was nothing. I can be anything. You know, for black folks that were born here, they've been discriminated against so much. And they've now, some of them, not all of them, some of them have started thinking, and then their parents have also sort of passed on some maybe bad stuff to them around, that stuff is not for you. You can't be that. You can't be prime minister. But when I was coming to the UK, I was thinking, I'm just going to crush it and I'm going to be the chief financial officer of a massive corporation. That was the plan, because there was no limitation, right? I didn't have those limitations that, as I said, those maybe that were born here have. So that was when reality now started hitting around, there are limitations, you're black.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Like, how was the culture shock of experiencing racism?
Yeah. So I did face some racist situations. I mean, one of the extreme ones was this guy letting loose his dog on me. I'm very close to where I was staying, and it was this old woman that had to come talk to him for him to pull the dog away from me. Another one was, I'll just share three, right? Another one was, I was just walking.
Because we could be here all
I wasn't walking. I was standing. I was doing this odd job where, you know, so if a new traffic light is about to be installed somewhere, there's actually someone that stays on that road and counts the flow of traffic. Maybe they've mechanized it now. I'm sure they've mechanized it. But back then, I was getting these part-time odd jobs where I would stay on the road and just be counting numbers of cars, numbers of bikes, numbers of trucks, and how frequent they are. And then they'll go do some calculation to then decide how long each of the traffic lights should flow for. You get? So they don't do those things randomly. They have to go through. So I was doing that job, standing by the road, minding my business. It was a boring job, you know, standing for 7-8 hours. And these were the days before social media, so there really isn't anything to entertain. You're just standing there and counting, because you have to actually stay sharp. Minding my business, and then this car drove by. And they rolled down their glass or whatever you call it, and shouted, "Go back to Africa, you fucking monkey!" And so there's something about me as well. You will struggle to offend me.
Yeah,
I get offended very. It's hard to offend me. I don't know if there's something wrong, broken in my system. So I found it funny. I just laughed, and that pissed them off. And they did a U-turn, came back, opened the glass. But this time around, they were not shouting; they were throwing eggs at me. But thankfully, none of them hit me. So, but then those things happened. But then still, those things didn't affect me. I just thought, there will always be silly people in the society, right? Because as much as I've shared that story, there's also the story of my second day in Liverpool. These were the days before Google Map. This was 2003. I was holding the I don't think I've even gotten the street map then. These were the physical and book street map, and this was me new in the country, and I was trying to go from my students' accommodation to the university because they were hosting a ball or party for international student welcome party. So I was then I saw this lady and I was asking her like, sorry, I'm trying to get to this address, and the lady just looked at me and said, right, okay, hold on a second. She flagged down the black cab, told me to get in, told the guy where I was going, gave the guy 20 quid, and she just walked away. So as much as I may focus on people throwing eggs at me and people saying go back to Africa, you fucking monkey, or wherever, there are also then those other people. And I like to focus my energy on those other people because I think these other people are insignificant. They are just sad people that probably need a bit of education, and maybe life is not that great for them. But anyway, so I finished university, and then there was a case as well of this girl on my corridor in the students' accommodation asking me, so Enoch, is it true you all live on trees? And I was like, where do we start? Anyway, so
Yes, we do.
listen, Iroko trees and all that, but then those things didn't affect me because I was just like, I'm always of that mindset of I came here for one reason. I came here to crush it. You guys are insignificant in the grand scheme of things of what I'm here for. All right. I came here to work my way, become a chef, a CFO and all that. So I started applying for work. I didn't get work, and my time was running out around options. So what I did was I then decided I was going to come to Stirling, Scotland, to do a master's in finance. So came over, did a master's in finance, and I still couldn't get work. And it took a while before I got work. And how I got work eventually was through a sideways route. At this point, because I have an Excel file I was using to track all my applications. I did over 300 applications. So this was applications starting in 2005 because my degree finished in 2006.
I was born in 2005.
Yeah?
Yeah.
In 2005?
Yeah.
Yeah?
That's crazy mindset.
I know.
Really?
It's shocking.
You're applying for jobs, Mima. I just dropped.
So 2005, yeah. So, but yeah, must have been a good year because that was the year you were born. But it wasn't a good year for me. It was a freaking tough year. So I applied from 05.
It's a great year for me. I don't know.
It's good. And I'm glad I'm meeting someone who sees 2005 as a positive year because for me it was tough. Applied for work for 2 years, couldn't get anything between 05 and 07, and eventually in 2007, after I finished my master's, after I've been applying, my pastor from Liverpool called me just out of the blue just to check in on me or check up on me, and I said, yeah, I finished my master's, but I'm still trying to get work and I'm struggling. And he said, right, I know a recruiter. When he started that conversation in my head, I was thinking, guy, you cannot help me. You're a pastor. Like, I'm an accountant, right? But I played along. And he said, I know a recruiter in Aberdeen. Let me speak with him. Maybe we'll look at your CV. And eventually connected me with this guy. I sent my CV to him. And I remember he then called me. I can't remember how it all went. He called me and said, listen, Enoch, I've seen your CV. I don't recruit in your line. I don't recruit accountants, but my colleague does. So let me send your CV to my colleague. Sent it to his colleague. His colleague looked at it, called me and said, Enoch, I'm looking at your CV now and I have a job in front of me. And CV matches the job. Do you want to come for an interview? And that was how I got my first job after applying for over 300 jobs. So the moral there, and I share this with people, is try different options, because when people are applying, they're using one way. So try different options. So if you're only applying by dropping your CVs in shops, try applying online as well. If you're only applying online, try in person as well. So just try different options, tweak it a bit and see if you keep doing the same thing and it's not working, maybe it's time to change, right? So that was how I got my first job, and that was how I got my break. From that first job on, then eventually I go into an asset management company, which is a financial services business, right? On a short-term basis. And while I was there, again, I made friends with this lady. She was Ghanaian, and she said, listen, she was in HR, and she said, there's an a graduate accounting role going on at Aegon Asset Management, and it closes today, basically. So I remember rushing home that day, finishing up my CV and just sending it off, and went through the whole process. And cut long story short, that was how I go on a graduate program. So for you, that may not mean much. For me, then, that was it. I'm sorted. But then for a lot of people that were like me, they didn't have that chance. Nobody, I mean, there was none of my friends that was getting any graduate role. There was none of my friends that was getting into the professional services or into what they studied. So I was a unicorn. I was an outlier. My friends that studied engineering and all these sort of brilliant degrees, a lot of them at this point were already settling into customer service roles and whatnot. And you know, they finished uni with 2-1 and these really good grades, right? So because of my experience trying to get work after uni and eventually getting work, and I always had this feeling, this uneasiness about me around. I felt I was fortunate, but a lot of people I came through with were not as fortunate as me. So I always felt this sense of, like, I left, as I like to put it, I left some of my fellow soldiers on the battlefront, and I just sort of walked away, because at this point life was good. I finished my qualifications, I became a chartered accountant, I was working in financial services, experiencing salary increase. Life was sorted. I could continue life that way, but there was always that nagging feeling. And eventually in 2016, an idea came to me to start this organization, or to start something. So at this point, I've been working for about 8 years. So I thought, why don't I bring together those of us that have been working? Some of what I'm saying may not be relevant, may not mean anything to you, but back then we lived in a different. Is it still relevant?
I think it's incredibly relevant, because I was gonna jump in, but I really am enjoying this story. When you're talking about how, like, I'm not kidding when I say the job market nowadays is absolute terror. It's absolutely abysmal. You've got cases of, you know, fake job postings. You've got you've got companies.
I need to jump on that. So what's the end game for a fake job posting?
So
is
this
that like
is what
a scam?
they do. So there's multiple reasons for it. So, like, to pretend like they are hiring to meet their quota, or they can put the job up, but they've already got an internal hire, but they're putting it up.
That one always happens.
Or they'll put the job up and someone already is working in that role, and they'll see that they've put that job up, so they'll quiet quit, so they can resign without you having to fire them, or they'll start working harder, so then you take the job offer off. There's a lot of different reasons why companies do it, but you've got fake offers, you've got internal
fake offers.
Yeah, like they will.
You guys have stepped the game up.
You'll do the whole application, you'll do the interview, and they'll be like, okay, yeah, we're ready, and then nothing. Just nothing. And I'm like, how is this not illegal? Or like, how is this legal? Or like, you'll have job offers that are just like lying on the thing. They'll be like, oh, you've got this role, and then you'll enter the role and it's completely different. Or even just like, the fact of the matter is that a lot of companies are now using like AI and robots to like parse through CVs, and like you'll have people, like, for instance, I was talking to this one friend who just finished her PhD in math, and she sent her PhD in like her CV, and the robot was like, oh, we can't give her this job because she hasn't proved that she has a bachelor's in math. And she's like, well, of course I have a bachelor's in math, I've done my PhD in it. And they're like, no, the robot is programmed. The robot is specifically looking for the word bachelor's, but it's one of those things that when you're saying about how, you know, your friends who are doing 2-1s, who are engineers doing customer service jobs, I'm seeing that like in real life. I'm seeing my friends who are coming out of architecture jobs, who were, you know, doing firsts in history of art, doing firsts in engineering, doing firsts in computing science, that are now like, even in the health sector, you have all of these new nurses who are graduating, and then the NHS Scotland is telling them, we don't have any jobs for you.
I thought they were always saying they were looking for nurses.
Exactly.
They're always going to bring nurses from.
But that's the problem, overseas. Is that they have all of these, you have all of these posts being like, we're looking for workers, but you're not really. Or if you are, you're looking for workers with way less pay than people can survive on. The amount of times where I'm seeing jobs where it's like, you're asking me to do this, and this, or even as a creative person, the amount of jobs that will be like, oh, can you do this for free? And it's like, actually, this would take me this many hours of prep, coming in, makeup, hair. It's like, I genuinely can't afford to do this to you for free. And you're a big company. I know you can afford to pay me, so why do you feel, especially as a Black creative, there's this whole thing of, I'm already getting paid less than white creatives. Like, if I'm being offered 100, they're being offered 500. If I'm being offered 10, they're being offered 50K very easily. So there's always that barrier, but it's also like, why would I do that for free though? That's like, Why would I do
Yeah,
that? Like
yeah.
you've come to me because you see that I have the
there's
stuff,
value, yeah.
but you don't want to pay me for that
Yeah,
value.
yeah.
So I would say it's a very
Live issue.
It's a very live issue, and it's an issue that is exponentially getting worse.
Interesting. Yeah, because the reason why I said it's better now is, again, because of what I'm seeing in the society, right? So things like, when I came back in 2003, if you came from, say, Ghana or Nigeria, you've got 10 years working as a let's use accountant, right? If you've worked 10 years as an accountant in the Bank of Ghana, for example, you turn up at the doorsteps of Scotland. There's no way Barclays or HSBC, any of these banks are looking at you.
I mean, I think there's still no way, to be honest.
So that's changing.
I think it definitely is changing.
That's changing, and I say that because of my organization. So I'm close to this thing. So I'm not saying the problem doesn't exist anymore. The problem definitely still exists, but we live in a different times now where you've got better chances of getting into those places. And one of the reasons why it's easier now is, again, there are organizations that can help people like that. Say, guy, okay, so you've just arrived from Accra, great. Let me look at your CV. Okay, maybe remove that, maybe add that. Okay, right. Okay, you've got an interview, great. So this is what you should do at the interview. This is what to say. We didn't have that back then. So people were applying. So there was barrier on both ends, right? So companies have got their own barriers, and then we as a people have got our own barriers as well, where we're not probably putting our best foot forward. So we now live in 2024, where some of those companies are beginning to appreciate talents from different places, and then our community people are going into those jobs those application processes as well, better prepared and in a stronger position. So that's why I say, so for example, I was at Barclays yesterday, and there must have been 100 black guys there, and they all work at Barclays. And one of them was telling me there are actually 200 of them in there, and most of them, if not all of them, sound like me. They're first generation immigrants. So that was impossible 20 years ago. So that's why I said change is happening. I'm saying it because I've been here for 20 years, so I've seen it from 2003 to 2024. But then as part of the work we're doing at BPU, it's around how do we continue to drive change? How do we continue to challenge those in position of authority? Say, what you've done is great, but that's not the end. We need to keep pushing. And how do we keep supporting our community members as well to say, right, if we're trying to get to these places, these are the things we need to do differently, right? You can't act like you're working at Zenith Bank in Nigeria if you're at HSBC, right? You need to change some of your style, some of your tactic. You're trying to get promotion. It's not about working hard. Yeah, of course, work hard, but then you've got to be visible. People don't know you. You're not getting promoted. So those little nuances that we're beginning to support our members. But I think I've jumped the gun around how did I start EBP?
I mean,
so
I'm looking at my questions and looking at time. So like, go for it. I might cut you off, but go for it.
Yeah, sure. So 2016 eventually started an organization called Edinburgh Black Professionals, right? And it was, again, we support some people that were coming through. We did that for 4 years. We didn't achieve a lot of successes. And again, this was before 2020. You need to take 2020 as a point in time when a lot changed for those of us in the black community. There was COVID, there was George Floyd, and there was Black Lives Matter. So pre-2020, nobody was really interested in the black experience. The people felt, you guys don't have any problems. Come on, like you guys are just complaining. So then 2020, everything that happened. And then as an organization at that point, we were called Edinburgh Black Professionals. As an organization, we then saw that there was an opportunity for us to actually support the wider Scotland. And then that was when we rebranded to Black Professionals Scotland. And as part of that rebrand, and again, there was a lot of conversations going on at that time. The energy was right. Businesses were asking, what can we do? We want to do something. Some were putting black boxes, but then some were going beyond the black boxes. They wanted to do something. And we were just there at the right time. And, we survived the first 4 years of dryness just to get us to that moment. And our membership grew in that 2020 from literally nothing to 1,000 members. And because of membership growth, because we now have 1,000 black talents in our network, there was now opportunities to start working with businesses like Barclays to say, listen, you're looking for black talents. Here they are. Come access them with us. And from that point on, that was when we started partnering with businesses. So as of today, we have about 30 partners. And our membership has grown from 1,000 in 2020 to 6,000 members. So those are 6,000 black students and professionals within our network, cut across all kinds of careers, science, engineering, financial services, arts, and the rest of it. And then in 2024 again, we saw an opportunity to rebrand again from Black Professionals Scotland to Black Professionals United Kingdom. Again, what we're doing in Scotland, the whole end-to-end support, nobody was doing it down in the rest of the UK. Because when I say end-to-end, we do provide end-to-end support. You want your CV looked at, someone will look at your CV for you. You go interview tomorrow, someone will do interview prep for you. You've got a job offer, someone will look at that job offer and tell you, nah, don't accept it, push for 30K, don't take the 25K. So we can support you all the way on that journey. But then not just that, when you then join that business, we then continue that support around how do we help you grow your career. So that's what we've been doing within BPU, and then with the success of BPU, we've now gone on to launch Black Professionals Europe last year. We launched Black Professionals Ireland this year, and we've soft launched Black Professionals Australia, and we're going to fully launch it next year. So we are doing a lot because, well, again, because of the success we've had here, people from those regions have been reaching out to us, say, can we replicate it where we are? The challenge you guys have, we have the same challenge. How can we replicate the success stories? And that's what we've been doing. But then beyond that, I've got myself involved in a lot of other things. But I'll stop there for now and see where you want to take the conversation.
I'll see. Okay, let me think back to the conversations we've had. We talked about enterprise. We talked about job struggles. Let's talk about your wife.
Yep.
Yeah. How is that like partnership really brought like life to its head? You know, like how does it feel to not only be supported by someone but also be supported by someone with similar interest in you? You know, she's a businesswoman as well. Like, how is that?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's fantastic to have. I always tell Shade I'm the luckiest man. I know a lot of people say that, but I genuinely mean it, because when I look at my life, I'm like, life is freaking great. You know, I've got 2 amazing kids, sensible kids. They generally do the right thing. They'll do silly things sometimes, but then generally good kids, all right? And, you know, when I met Shade then, about 10 years ago now, no funny story. When I met Shade, the first time we physically met, I told her, you're going to be my wife. You know, so the old school romance.
I don't know if that one would work nowadays.
I don't know if it work. You know, because my spirits were just drawn to her. I just saw her as, you know, I can live with this person for the rest of my life. We can work on some things, but then generally, you know, I can support her to get to where she wants to get to. She can support me to get to. But then even at that point, we didn't have any big dreams. We just wanted to work. These were the days before Black Professionals, wherever. I was just an accountant. She was just trying to start our career in human resources. And then, yeah, I think the way the partnership work is as a team, we know what the goal is. We know the things we are trying to achieve overall. Some are driven by me. Some are more, you know, I'm the one really interested in that, like Black Professionals United or wherever. And then there are some that is driven by her. She's got our organization as well, where she's supporting young women. And then, of course, she's got a fashion thing going for her. And then, of course, she's got her HR career, which is really kicking off. You know, I'm very proud of what she's achieved in the last 3 years. You know, in 2021, in 2020, she was trying to break into HR. Nobody was giving her the opportunity. And I knew she was very smart. It was those frustrating things where you're like, I know once you get a chance, you're going to crush it. And that was what happened. So she started her HR career eventually in 2021 as an HR admin. And now she's leading the HR team of a tech company in 3 years. All right. So, and I know that's just the start. That's just the beginning. There's a lot of amazing and exciting things she's going to do. And the way we've done it is providing that support. So, for example, as I said, Hamie, she's taking the kids to football. I should have taken them to football. So we try to balance things out. It can be challenging sometimes. But thankfully, I think we are generally sensible people. So I think that plays a big part, because if you're working with someone that doesn't, you know, that is not sensible, you can't reach them. You can't, you know, come to agreement with them. So we're generally sensible people, and then we'll make those sacrifices when needs be. When we think, okay, it's time to give this person the support. Okay, let's go, let's push. And then when it's time again to give that person, okay, let's go, let's push. So that's how we've done it over the last 10 plus years.
That's nice. Okay. This is the part of the show where, you know, I've been talking at you. I've been asking you a lot of questions, a bit vulnerable ones, a bit vague ones.
No,
so
fine.
this is your turn to swing it back on me.
Yeah.
Through our conversation, is there any moment where you're like, I have this question, but I don't know? Like,
Yep.
you can say no, but if you have
No, it's fine. I mean, so I always find conversations to be very powerful because I'm an old man now, and based on what you just told me recently, you've got a few years younger than me. All right,
quite a bit. let's be honest.
Younger than me. So, and having these conversations are good because then you get to come into my world, I get to come into your world. So for folks in your world, and what I see when I see people coming out from your world, what I see is, and maybe it's different to what you're telling me, is these guys are freaking crushing it. I see them finishing uni and then going into the kind of jobs that we couldn't get when we finished uni then. I'm meeting some, for example, when I was at Barclays yesterday, met this young lady, she's probably 18 years old. And she said she's been there for 2 years. She joined the graduate apprenticeship program. And I was like, these younger folks are crushing it. So, and I want to believe our generation will take some of the credit around, we've paved some, just the way the generation ahead of us will take some of the credits for, even though I said I faced challenges, it wasn't as bad as the challenges someone that came in the 80s faced. So they faced some of those challenges, they fought some good fights. We came in, we faced less challenges, we fought some good fights, and then you guys are coming in, just as you said, you've got challenges as well. But then, maybe not some of the ones we faced, we've crushed some already. So would you say, I mean, what's life like in your world?
I would say that because just like in terms of capitalism and the world's in late age, everything's expensive. I feel like the reason why a lot of young people are becoming much more successful, like much more early, is because of how high the bar is now set. To get just a regular paying job, you need to have done all of these apprenticeships. You need to have all of these like people to back you and be like, oh yeah, this is a person. You need to have top grades, you need to be a top A person, and still also have time to be familiar and have friends, and also do
just
charity,
live a normal life.
live a normal life. So I feel like the bar has been set, and then also it's one of those things where because of the barriers you broke, our comfortable was your barrier.
Yep.
So like you broke this barrier and now that's my comfortable.
Yep.
And because that's my comfortable, I can now go above
Yep.
it. But
Yep.
because that was my comfortable, it's now not a feasible thing to live on anymore.
Yep.
So it's a
Yep.
double-edged sword in the sense of definitely there's so many things that I've done, specifically this year, where like 100% could not have done that during your time. Like there's no way that I could have been like, you know what, I don't want to do computing science. I'm going to do history of art and music. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be successful. I'm going to... like, there's no way.
Looking back at my days in Liverpool Uni, nobody did history.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's no way, because my fear would have been, I am a black woman in this country that does not appreciate me. I need to do a job that's guaranteed I'm gonna get a job, guaranteed I'm gonna be able to fend for myself. I have that ability to be like, okay, maybe this is a bit risky, but there's barriers, there's safety nets. At the end of the day, if I was to rent a place and then I couldn't afford it, I could go back to my parents. If there was a moment in time where it's like, okay, this isn't working for me anymore, I could go back to school. Those are things that I have the opportunity to do because of people like you and people before you. So I would say, definitely double-edged sword in that nature. I will say though, I am very thankful to be born when I am. A lot of people are like, oh, I was born in the wrong era. No, I wasn't. I was born in the right era. I was born in the era with smartphones. Because the thing is, because I was born in 2005, I've never lived a life without Google, because Google was made before 2001. And not to mention, I didn't even live a life without YouTube, because YouTube was created 18 days before I was born. So like, don't make that face. Don't make that face. You're not old. You're not old. You're growing. You're not old. You're not old. I'm too young. That's what
You're the problem. I'm not the problem.
No. You're fine. You're fine. Every time I say that, I just like, there's always that one. I'm just like, oh, and I'm like, it's okay. You're fine. No, you're fine.
It's good.
But it's one of those things where I've always lived with technology, and it's crazy because I've watched it grow with me. I've grown with it, and I've also seen it falter. So like with AI and everything, I'm watching something that I enjoyed be like, when I talk to STEM people about it, their stance on AI is much different, because obviously I'm a creative person, so like my stance on AI is a bit different. We won't get into that because we don't have time. We can do it. But it's one of those things where it's like everything it's weird to say, but I am growing up in an era where everything is happening every time all at once. Like, there's so many historical events that have happened in my lifetime. Like, obviously, the smartphone, COVID, January 6th, like, so many things that are documented and are live, and I'm growing up not only with it, but also with the fallback of it. And that's affecting the way I experience things, because it's not something that my mom did or my dad did. So like the conversations around that are also different. So yeah, back to my point, double-edged sword. Yeah, things are much better now, but that's because they're much harder.
Wow, that's deep. That's deep. I need to go away and unpack that when I get home. Like, what does that mean? Like, but yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, and hopefully, as I say, as long as a society we can see a general trend towards progress, then that's fine. Some people believe we need change today, we need change now. I'm a realistic person, maybe because of my accounting background. I'm like, things don't freaking happen overnight, we need to sort of chop at it. I would love for things to happen overnight, but realistically it can't. So we need to keep driving that change. We need to keep pushing power. We need to keep challenging within our own sphere, whatever it is you can do, so that the guy coming after you tomorrow, his life will be easier, then he will make life easier, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's what we do. Okay,
one last question.
Let's go for it.
So besides, getting involved with Black Professionals Scotland, UK, Ireland, depending on where you're living, what is one thing a young person as myself can do right now in this moment to better their chances at success? One thing. Could be anything. Don't take too long.
So the young person, where are they in life? So under 20?
Yeah, my age, so 19.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, I would say, just as I said earlier, really owning on what am I good at, and see if what you're good at can be commercialized. And it could be the case that you're at uni, you're crushing your degree, so you're on your way to first class and thinking, okay, this thing I'm trying to do, what's the best way to earn the most from it? All right. Because just as you said, the society is changing in such a way that there's now more need for people to have more financial cushion. So, and that's what I would tell any young person: think, what is it I'm good at? Is it, just as you said you do a bit of creative and all that. So if you think, I'm very good at this, I could actually make a career out of it, then go for it. It may be risky, it may not work, and then you've got the option, you've got the flexibility to fail and go start again. Maybe there was a time in history when you don't have that privilege. Not you, I mean, we as a people. But now you've got that privilege of, you can do that for 5 years. If it doesn't work, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go become an accountant. And you can go become you can go be wherever. So you've got that privilege. So use it to your advantage. If you're good at something, really owning on it and make the most of it and commercialize it or monetize it as much as you can. And if you're a charitable person, commercialize and monetize as much as you can. And then when you make £100, if you're so charitable, give £90 to charity. But first start with commercializing, because I think as a society, as a community, the Black community, we are very heavy on not-for-profit. That mentality of I want to help this group, I want to help that group. That's great, but then how about you go do something great? The best people that can be, the best people that can, that can really drive change are the billionaires, because they've got money to do it. So for us to be able to drive change, we need to go make that money and use it to drive change. So owning on your skills.
Okay. I really did enjoy this, Thank you so much.
I have as well. I've learned so much.
This is great. I have learned so much. I've also learned a lot.
Yep.
Thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And thank you very much for having me. And I'm just trying to do a mathematical calculation. I think you're probably half my age or something.
Half,
roughly, give or take.
But you know what? You've been such a great guest. I'll give you that.
I'll give
you the half. I won't question it. I will question that. Okay.
But thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
Take care.
That's been our show, everyone.